Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something truly unique?
I am.
Awesome. Today we're going to be exploring Hakka woodcraft in Taiwan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from this really fascinating academic paper all about Hakka traditions,
Okay.
specifically those that use wood.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's more than just like pretty carvings though.
Right, of course.
We're really going to uncover how deep woodcraft is woven into Hakka life.
Yeah.
You know, their history, their environment, even their economy.
Yeah, it's like this paper is like a key,
Oh, totally.
unlocking a whole world, that we might not know much about.
Exactly. And what's really cool is we're not just looking at like what Hakka woodcraft is,
Uh-huh.
but like the why and the how. You know how it changed over time?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's a story of adaptation, resourcefulness, and this like deep connection to Taiwan's landscape.
Totally, totally. So
Yeah.
let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
The paper talks about how Hakka woodworkers were like some of the earliest settlers, in Taiwan.
Oh, wow.
And even way back then, their skills were super valuable.
Hmm. Can you imagine arriving in a new land and having to like build everything from scratch?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hakka woodworkers were essential in that whole process.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And they weren't just like building basic shelters or anything, right?
Right.
This paper actually mentions how they were involved in building some of Taiwan's most iconic structures,
Oh, really?
even way back like in the 1600s.
Wow, that's so cool. Do you have an example?
Yeah. So the Penghu Tianhu Temple, have you heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
Built in 1604.
Wow.
That's a prime example. They even brought in this master painter from like a traditionally Hakka region in mainland China.
Interesting.
It just shows how even back in the day, Hakka craft was like intertwined with like the practical stuff and the spiritual realm.
Yeah. So their work was shaping the very landscape of faith, basically, in Taiwan.
Right, exactly. And this wasn't just like a one-off thing, okay? Because the paper cites all these historical records.
Hmm.
The Taiwan General History, Miaoli County Chronicles, and the Senju County Interview Records.
Wow.
They all show how widespread and respected Hakka woodworkers were.
That's pretty amazing. It's so interesting to just look at the details in these records. Like they highlight these specific skills, creating beams, crafting tools, carving, polishing. Like even their wages reflected how skilled they were. They were in high demand.
Yeah, it really paints this picture of a community that, brought serious skill to the table.
Yeah.
And they knew their worth.
For sure.
So this early period kind of sets the stage, right?
Right.
Practicality, resourcefulness, this connection to daily life, and also like something bigger.
Yeah.
But then we get to like the emergence of Sanyi as this wood carving hub,
Oh, yeah, Sanya.
and things get even more interesting.
Sanya is so fascinating. Like, it wasn't just a random spot,
Yeah.
Think about all the camphor trees they had there, like tons of camphor trees.
Yeah, I've heard about those, yeah.
And they were valuable for their oil, but like the roots were often just discarded.
Really? So
Yeah.
they built like a whole industry on what other people just threw away.
Exactly. The Hakka woodworkers, they saw opportunity where others didn't, and they took those camphor roots and they started creating all these decorative items for homes.
Wow, talk about making the most of what you have.
Right.
But it wasn't just the camphor trees, was it?
Well, no, not really.
Because the source mentions how like the terrain and even the climate of Sanya, like the fog, played a role in how wood carving developed there.
Yeah, the terrain definitely provided a challenge, but, challenges can also be opportunities.
Oh, totally.
And that fog, apparently it helped keep the wood moist, which made it easier to carve those intricate details that Sanya became known for.
Wow, so even like the weather played a part.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. And over time, like their skills just, they developed obviously, and those decorative items, kind of evolved into more elaborate furniture. And then eventually Sanya wood carving, like hit that art commodity level.
Yeah.
So the whole journey from like discarded roots to sought after art.
It really speaks volumes about, their hard work and their adaptability and their creativity. They didn't just like work with the environment, they worked alongside it,
Yeah.
turning like limitations into strengths.
Right.
And this whole evolution, this constant adaptation, it's something we see throughout the history of Hakka woodcraft.
Yeah. It reminds me of that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
as the industry grew, it wasn't just a Hakka craft anymore.
You're right, yeah. Hakka artisans, another group in Taiwan, they joined in, and you get this like dynamic exchange of skills and ideas that emerged.
So it became more than just a craft. It was like a meeting point, a blend of cultures.
Exactly.
But we can't forget that Hakka woodcraft wasn't just limited to Sanyi or even furniture,
Right.
the source breaks down their work into 4 categories.
Right.
And honestly, some of the examples are mind-blowing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
First up, we've got life crafts.
Yeah.
These are the everyday objects that were super essential.
This is where you really see practicality meet ingenuity.
Totally, yeah. Think about all the challenges of daily life back then. Work in the fields, navigating, like, muddy terrain, processing crops. It was tough.
Yeah. And each of those challenges basically led to the creation of tools and objects, right?
Yeah.
All designed to make life a little bit easier.
Totally. Like the GZ, those wooden clogs. I bet those are perfect for the mud.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the Z-King, which is a sugar lifter.
Oh, wow.
They used it in sugar production.
Ah.
And this one's pretty intense. The wooden horse. They used it for logging.
Ah, yes, the wooden horse. Essential but back-breaking work. Can you imagine dragging those heavy logs uphill, using just like a wooden frame and human strength?
Gosh, yeah. It makes you realize how much they relied on their ingenuity and physical strength just to work with what they had.
Absolutely. And it shows that deep connection, between the Hakka people and the environment. They weren't just taking from the land, they were working with it.
Yeah.
Respecting its limits.
Right.
And finding these creative solutions.
Yeah, and it wasn't all work and no play, right?
Right, of course not.
We've got the aesthetic crafts category, too. Wooden toys, spinning tops, rattles, things that brought joy.
Yeah, and helped pass down traditions to the next generation, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's a good reminder that craft isn't just about function. It's also about beauty, play.
Passing down cultural heritage.
Exactly. And then there's this category that I find super intriguing.
Okay, which one?
Folk crafts. It's where we see this connection to ancestral veneration and, like, rituals.
Oh, wow. So things like ancestral tablets.
Yes. Often called agong ama.
Okay.
Offering boxes used in ceremonies.
Right.
Even these elaborate pig and sheep sheds they built for festivals.
Wow. These weren't just everyday objects, right?
No. They were full of symbolism, meaning.
Yeah, for sure. And the level of skill and artistry that went into these pieces is amazing. It shows the importance of, tradition and spirituality, honoring their ancestors within the culture.
It's like each carving, each detail holds a story, a connection to something bigger than just the object.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about, like, weaving those stories, those beliefs into the very fabric of their lives.
Exactly, yeah. And then we've got economic industry crafts.
Right.
Which shows how diverse their skills were and how they touched so many parts of their economy.
Yeah, from charcoal kilns and distilling equipment to, like, the longuche water wheels used for irrigation. It's clear that their knowledge of wood went way beyond just carving.
Oh, for sure. They even built those cement tile wooden houses, the ones that were common back in the day.
Right, right. It's amazing to see how they use their craft to meet the changing needs of the community.
Yeah. It speaks to their flexibility, willingness to embrace new things while still, like, staying true to those core values.
Exactly, yeah.
So we've got these 4 categories, but was there, like, a system to the industry? Or was it just everyone doing their own thing?
Well, think of it more as a spectrum.
Yeah.
A journey from raw material to finished product, each step needing specific skills.
Okay, so starting with the loggers and charcoal producers, like the foundation of it all.
Yeah, and then you've got the muzuo, the masters of, like, large-scale construction, building houses, temples, even bridges using traditional joinery. It's incredible how much knowledge and precision was required for that kind of work.
Yeah, like they were building the bones of their communities. And speaking of details, you can't forget the muzuo, the artisans who focused on the finer points.
Oh, right, like doors and windows.
Exactly. Doors, windows, screens, decorative elements.
Yeah, they were the ones really blending artistry and functionality. Imagine, like, a beautifully carved door, right?
Yeah.
Not just serving its purpose, but, like, adding beauty and cultural significance to a home.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
They were creating art you could live in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like each trade builds on the last one. A chain of expertise that leads to these incredibly well-crafted structures.
Right.
And then, of course, we have the jimuzuo, the furniture makers.
Yeah. It's easy to take furniture for granted, but think about all the skill it takes. They were choosing specific types of wood, understanding grain patterns, mastering joinery techniques that could withstand, years of use.
Yeah. It really makes you appreciate the skill and the care that went into making those everyday objects.
For sure.
It wasn't just about function. It was about creating something that would last.
Something that would become a part of the family history.
Exactly, yeah. And speaking of artistry, we can't forget about carving itself.
Right?
The source highlights it as its own category, everything from decorative details to sculptures to religious icons.
Okay, yeah.
And the Hakka carvers, they were known for their specific styles and the motifs that they used, often taking inspiration from nature, folklore, their cultural heritage.
Yeah. It's like their stories, their beliefs are literally carved into those pieces.
Like a window into their soul, expressed through wood.
It is, yeah. And what's so amazing is how all those different trades were interconnected.
Totally.
It wasn't just individuals working alone. It was like a whole community of experts all working together.
It was a true collaboration, a symphony of craftsmanship, like you said.
Yeah.
And what's even more fascinating is that it wasn't like a rigid system.
Right.
It changed, adapted to new needs, new materials.
And new influences.
Exactly.
That's so important to remember. Like, tradition isn't about clinging to the past.
Yeah.
It's about, carrying those core values forward while embracing change and innovation like we see today, with workshops like Yimian. They're finding ways to reinterpret Hakka woodcraft for modern people.
Right. They're a perfect example of how tradition and innovation can not only coexist, but actually enhance each other.
Exactly, yeah.
They're showing that these skills and techniques are still relevant even in the 21st century.
Yeah, for sure.
It's inspiring to see how they're bridging that gap between the past and present.
Yeah, it is.
It makes me think about that connection, between the Hakka people and wood itself. It goes beyond just seeing it as a material,
You're right, yeah. There's a sense of respect, almost a reverence for the trees themselves,
Yeah.
It's not just about taking, it's about understanding, appreciating,
Yeah.
working in harmony with the natural world.
Yeah, the paper mentions how certain types of wood were favored for different uses,
Oh, interesting.
like camphor wood being so important in Sanye, but also how they used other native Taiwanese woods,
Yeah.
each one chosen for its properties, and even symbolic meanings.
Oh, wow. So they weren't just thinking practically, they were thinking about the spiritual and cultural side of it, too.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got hardwoods like Zayas, which means black heartwood,
Okay.
prized for its durability,
Yeah.
used for tools and everyday objects that needed to, withstand heavy use.
So they were really in tune with the forest,
Yeah.
choosing the right wood for the right purpose,
Exactly.
respecting its limitations
Yeah.
and its strengths.
And that respect extended to their practices too.
Of course, yeah. They often used wood that would otherwise be discarded, like those camphor roots we talked about.
Right.
And they really emphasized sustainable harvesting, making sure the forest could regenerate.
Yeah, that's a far cry from the mass deforestation we see happening today.
Right.
It's a good reminder that sustainability is not a new idea. It's something that traditional cultures have known and practiced for a really long time.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another important aspect, the social dimension of Hakka woodcraft.
Right.
It wasn't just an economic activity. It was a way of life, a source of community identity, a way of passing knowledge and tradition down through generations.
The paper talks about the apprenticeship system,
Yeah.
where young people would learn not just skills, but the values of the craft.
Right, from the masters.
Yeah. It was a holistic education,
Yep.
shaping their skills, their character.
And that knowledge was often kept in the family, creating a strong sense of lineage and connection to the past.
Yeah, it's like this thread connecting generations, each one adding their own little twist to the story.
Exactly.
But it wasn't just family, was it?
No, not always.
The paper also mentions master-disciple relationships, where skilled artisans would take on apprentices from outside their families.
Yeah. It was about sharing that knowledge, ensuring that the craft would continue, and fostering a community of skilled and ethical craftspeople. It shows a broader sense of community and responsibility, don't you think?
Yeah, it wasn't just about individual success. It was about the collective well-being of everyone and the craft itself.
Exactly. It was a system built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and, a deep understanding of how everything's interconnected.
Yeah, it's like this incredible tapestry woven together with skill and tradition, environmental awareness, and social bonds.
Mm.
It really makes you appreciate how deep and complex Hakka woodcraft is. It's so much more than just a craft. It's like a reflection of a whole way of life.
Yeah, that's what makes it so valuable to study. It gives you a glimpse into a culture, a way of understanding how people connected with, their surroundings, their communities, the materials they use to create the world around them.
It's like holding a piece of history in your hands,
Yeah.
feeling the weight of all those generations and stories.
Yeah. As we move into the next part of our deep dive, I think it's good to reflect on what we can learn from all of this and how it applies to us today.
That's a great point. What can we take away from this? What insights can we use in our own lives? We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up and explore those questions.
Sounds good.
We're back, and gosh, I'm still thinking about these Hakka woodworkers, so blending like
Right.
tradition with innovation. It's amazing. As
Yeah.
we've been talking about all the categories of their work, it's really striking just the range of skills involved.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more than just knowing how to, carve wood.
Oh, absolutely. The source, it goes beyond just listing the objects, It actually goes into the different types of woodworkers and their specialized knowledge. It's like this whole ecosystem of expertise,
Yeah.
all connected.
It's like we often just lump woodworking all into one big category, but this is showing us there's like a whole hierarchy,
Right.
a whole world within that.
Right. Exactly.
Fascinating.
Think about the foundation, the loggers.
Yeah.
Those were the ones going into the mountains, facing the elements, and even danger to get those trees. And then the charcoal producers, right?
Right.
Turning that wood into fuel, which was essential back then.
Gosh, yeah. That they were literally fueling their community.
Mm.
Each role was so vital.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. And then it gets even more specialized, right?
Oh, how so?
Well, we've got the damuzuo, masters of large-scale construction. These were the skilled carpenters, the ones who built the houses, the temples, even bridges,
Oh, wow.
using traditional joinery techniques.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the knowledge, the precision needed for that kind of work?
Gosh, it's incredible. They were building the bones of their communities. And
Mhm.
speaking of detail work, you can't forget the Xiaomuzuo either. Right?
Oh, right. The ones who focused on all the fine points.
Exactly. Doors, windows, screens, decorative elements.
Yeah, they were the ones who blended that artistry and functionality so well, like a beautifully carved boar,
Mhm. Yeah,
It serves its purpose, but it also adds beauty and culture to a home. It's like living art.
totally. Art you can live in.
Yeah.
Love that. It's like each trade builds on the last one, right?
Yeah.
Like a chain of expertise
Yeah.
leading to these well-crafted, beautiful structures. And then, of course, we've got the Jimuzuo, the furniture makers.
Oh, right. The one shaping the spaces people live their lives in. It's so easy to take furniture for granted, but the skill involved is amazing.
Totally.
They weren't just throwing things together. They chose specific types of wood, understanding grain patterns. They mastered these joinery techniques that would last for years and years. I mean,
Mhm.
some of those pieces are still around today. It's a real testament to their craftsmanship.
That's incredible. It makes you appreciate the care that went into those everyday things.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about function. It was about creating something lasting, something that could become part of a family's history.
Absolutely.
And then there's the carving itself,
Oh, right. Yes.
which the source highlights as its own category.
Right.
It covers everything from like decorative details on furniture to full-on sculptures, religious icons too.
Yeah, the Hakka carvers, they were known for their particular styles and motifs. A lot of their inspiration came from nature, folklore, their own heritage.
It's like their stories and beliefs are literally carved into these pieces.
Exactly. It's like a window into their soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Expressed through wood. And the amazing thing is how all these different trades, they're all linked together.
Yeah.
It wasn't just individuals doing their own thing. It was a whole community. All those experts contributing their unique skills.
It really was a collaboration, like a symphony of craftsmanship.
Exactly. And it's fascinating, too, how it wasn't just a static system.
Yeah.
It was constantly evolving and adapting
Mm.
to new needs, materials, influences, everything.
Right. That's so important. It's like tradition isn't about clinging to the past.
Right.
It's about carrying those core values forward, embracing change and innovation like we see today with the Union Workshop.
Oh, yeah.
They're reinterpreting Hakka woodcraft for a modern audience.
They're a perfect example of how tradition and innovation can actually go hand in hand,
Yeah.
even enhance each other.
Yeah.
They're proving these old skills are still valuable,
Yeah.
even in the 21st century.
It's really inspiring to see how they bridge that gap, between the past and the present.
It is. It makes you think about the deeper connection, the one between the Hakka people and wood itself.
Yeah, it's more than just seeing it as a material.
It goes way beyond that.
There's a respect, almost reverence for the trees themselves.
Yeah. The paper mentions how certain types of wood were favored for different uses, like obviously camphor wood being huge in Sanya,
Hmm.
but they also used other native Taiwanese woods, each one chosen for specific properties,
Oh, interesting.
and even like symbolic meanings.
Wow. So they weren't just considering practicality, they were thinking about the spiritual aspect too.
Exactly. They had these hardwoods, like sauce, which translates to black heartwood.
Okay.
That was prized for being so durable. They used that for tools and everyday objects, the things that needed to withstand a lot of use.
So they were really working with the forest,
Yeah,
choosing the right wood for the right job and respecting what it could and couldn't do.
exactly, exactly. And that respect, it went beyond just the wood itself.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about their practices.
Yep.
They often used wood that would have been thrown away, like those camphor roots.
Oh.
And they were big on sustainable harvesting.
Right. So the forest could grow back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from the mass deforestation you see today.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder, that sustainability isn't a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's something cultures have understood for centuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us to another crucial part of all of this,
Okay.
the social side of Hakka woodcraft. This wasn't just about economics.
Right.
It was a whole way of life, a source of identity for the community, a way of passing knowledge down through generations.
The paper talks about the apprenticeship system,
Mhm.
where young people would learn the skills and the values of the craft from master craftspeople.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the technical stuff.
Right. This was shaping their character, too.
And oftentimes that knowledge, it stayed within families,
Yeah.
which created that strong sense of, lineage, connection to the past.
Like a thread through the generations.
Yeah.
Each one adding their own little bit to the story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always limited to families, though, was it?
No, not always.
The paper also mentions, those master-disciple relationships, where a skilled artisan would take on apprentices from outside their family.
Right. It was about sharing the knowledge to make sure the craft would continue. And nurturing a community of craftspeople, skilled and ethical ones, I think it shows a broader sense of community, of responsibility.
Yeah, it wasn't just about personal success. It was about the well-being of everyone and the craft itself.
Exactly. It was a system built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and this understanding that everything's interconnected.
It really is like this incredible tapestry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Woven together with all those threads of skill, tradition, environmental awareness, the social bonds. Gosh, it just makes you appreciate how much depth there is to Hakka woodcraft.
It really does. It's so much more than just making things. It's a reflection of a whole way of being.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so valuable, to study.
Mm-hmm. It gives us a glimpse into a different culture, a way of understanding how people related to their environment, their communities, the materials they used, how they built their world.
It's like holding a piece of history, feeling the weight of all the generations that came before. All their stories are right there in the wood.
It's a powerful thing. And as we head into the last part of our deep dive, I think it's worth thinking about what we can learn from all of this, how these lessons might apply to our own lives.
That's a great point. What can we take away? What insights can we use? We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up and explore those questions. We're back for the last part of our deep dive. And, as we've been talking, I keep coming back to this idea.
Oh, what's that?
What can we learn from all this? From their story, I mean.
Yeah.
So much more than just, like, pretty objects.
It really is. And for me, one thing that just keeps coming up is resourcefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Like throughout everything we've discussed. The Hakka woodworkers, they always found a way to make the most of what they had, turn those limitations into opportunities.
It's like that whole story about the camphor roots in Sanya. They didn't have fancy lumber, but they saw something in what everyone else just tossed aside.
Exactly. That's ingenuity right there.
Totally. And it's not even just physical resources, is it? It's like they were resourceful with their knowledge, the skills, the community itself.
Oh, for sure. Those apprenticeship systems are a great example, making sure that expertise, those traditions, were passed down.
It's like they knew that to be sustainable, it's got to be more than just the environment. It's the culture, too, keeping that alive.
Right. And that leads to another big takeaway, I think.
Oh, what's that?
How connected everything is.
Right.
Like Hakka woodcraft wasn't just making nice things. It was about knowing the wood, the whole forest, how that worked, the social structures, too, how they kept the craft going, and those cultural values in every piece.
Like a Weber, right? Touch one part and the whole thing moves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a perspective we need more of these days, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, big time.
In a world that's always specializing, splitting things apart, Hakka woodcraft is a reminder to look at the big picture.
Mm.
Our choices, they all have ripple effects, impacting not just ourselves, but the whole community, the environment too.
It's a call to be more mindful, more aware of those connections that we've got.
For sure. And I don't know about you, but this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
it's made me think differently about handcrafted stuff. In a world where everything's mass-produced, there's something special about knowing a piece was made with that level of care, that skill. It's
Wait.
slowing down, appreciating quality over quantity, recognizing the time and expertise that goes in.
Cherishing those objects, the stories they hold, the connection to the people who made them, that whole legacy of craftsmanship. Gosh, wrapping up this journey into Hakka woodcraft, I'm in awe, inspired. But there's this question I keep thinking about.
Oh, what is it?
What traditions, what skills, what do we carry within ourselves? And how can we, each of us, use those gifts to create something meaningful, something good?
That's a beautiful question, and I really believe if we look closely enough, those seeds of creativity, that resourcefulness, those connections, they're already there.
Yeah, like just waiting.
Waiting to be nurtured. We all have something to offer,
Yeah.
Some way to add to the story of human creativity, human culture.
On that note, we've reached the end of our story, at least for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, on this deep dive into Hakka woodcraft in Taiwan.
We hope you've come away with a new appreciation for their skill, their resilience, their lasting legacy.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating.
Exactly.